Hi everyone, I'm Jess, and I'm so excited to introduce you to another incredible designer featured in our Bag Makers Club. Today we're chatting with Emma of Charlie's Aunt, and we'll talk about her creative journey, the evolution of her brand, and learn more about this month's featured pattern. First of all, welcome to the Sallie Tomato YouTube channel. If you love bag making and enjoy connecting with talented makers, this is a video that you don't want to miss. We'll share tips, inspiration, and behind-the-scenes stories that you won't find anywhere else. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap on the notification bell so you never miss an interview or helpful bag sewing tips. Thank you so much for being here, Emma. I've really looked forward to our conversation. So why don't you let's get started by you sharing a little bit about your background and how you got started in sewing.
Well, I have been sewing like a lot of people from a very early age. My grandmother stitched lots of things. She used to make clothing for all of my aunties and uncles when they were small. So it's something I always enjoyed doing. I love fabric. I've grown up with a love of fabric, particularly sort of British fabrics like wools and tweeds and all those kind of cozy traditional fabrics. So, but I think my first love has always been writing. So I trained and worked as a journalist, which is what I've done as my main job for probably getting on for 25, 30 years now. I then started up making clothing on the side, which was something that I did alongside being a journalist, and sold the clothing, started to make hats and bags, and then was asked to write a book about handbags. And then from there on, the sewing pattern business started. So
I feel like it's so similar for so many different creatives where we have so many interests, and it's kind of neat to hear how it evolves and how they kind of overlap and intertwine and use skills from other interests. And I think I'm very passionate about writing as well. So, I mean, not as to the extent that you are, but yeah, very talented. And to be able to enjoy all of your passions through your pattern company now is, I bet, very fulfilling.
yeah, I feel very lucky really, because it combines being able to design, write the patterns, illustrate the patterns, go out into the lovely countryside and get photographs of the bags and hats. So yeah, it really does feel like, right, yeah, this sort of encapsulates everything that I'm good at and that I enjoy. So I feel very fortunate.
And your photography is beautiful as well. Your website is
Mhm.
so lovely to look at all of the designs. And um, yeah, you have such a beautiful country, and to capture that in your patterns and on your website too is just, it's really fun and enjoyable to see. So why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got started specifically with your pattern company?
Okay. Well, I initially started, as I said, designing clothing, and then I did a lot of fashion shows with it. The clothing was always influenced by sort of vintage fashions, not things that were replicas of vintage clothes, but things that were influenced by sort of 1920s onwards. And then at the fashion shows, I started to make hats to go with them and bags, and then they seemed so popular that that was sort of evolved really into something that then people were asking me to make bags and hats to sell in their shops, which I did. And then I was asked to write this book about handbags, and that was just so popular that I started to think, well, maybe this is a way that I could do this that doesn't involve sitting at a sewing machine making sort of half a dozen bags a day, or I
Yeah.
mean, you can have too much of a good thing, can't you, really? So I didn't particularly want to make everything that I sold, and this gave me a way to get my designs out to lots of other people. So that's really how the pattern business started. It started off the back of the books, which were really well received.
And how many books have you authored so far?
I've got three. One is bags, one's jewellery, and the other one is accessories. But when I say jewellery, it's like sort of textile-based jewellery and lots of things that have textile elements in them. So yeah, it's they're all sort of influenced by vintage fashions, but wholly wearable or usable today. So more sort of retro vibe, really.
Oh, how lovely. So, when you're working on a new pattern or inspiration, how does your creative flow typically go? And where do you draw your vintage inspiration from mostly?
I've got lots and lots of old patterns, and I've also got lots of books. My sister, my dear sister, who's no longer with us, she bought me lots of old sort of pattern catalogues, and they featured lots of really elegant illustrations with handbags as part of the illustration. So I started kind of looking at that, at the shapes initially. One thing that my patterns are quite sort of, I would say my signature style for Charlie's Aunt is the sort of asymmetrical look. So I generally start with thinking about, you know, the shape of the bag and the how the flap's going to be, or if it's going to have a pocket. And generally there's some kind of quirky asymmetrical aspect to it, and then I'll think about the function after that, whether I want it to be a, you know, like a crossbody bag or a large bag, or you know, an overnight bag or something like that. And then from that I'll start to think about whether, you know, how you're going to give it that shape, whether it needs to have functional shape, darts, corners, you know, a gusset or whatever. So it usually starts with the design little details first, I would say, and then I work backwards to the functional side of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because that's often how I like to design too. If there's a wish list of certain exterior features or handles or closure option, and then yeah, the function of the pockets and the straps and other things like that can come later. So
Mm.
so let's talk about the pattern in this month's Bag Makers Club. What inspired the design and what are some of your favorite features?
Well, that one really is, it's kind of inspired by the simplicity of 1940s designs, which were designed, you know, they were quite inventive and a little bit quirky, but were also, it was a time when the designs were quite unfussy, as I like to call them, because you couldn't get certain materials and things during the wartime years. So they had to come up with design features that didn't use up lots of fancy sort of, you know, lace trim, buckles, everything like that. So it's I think that's the influence behind it. It's quite a kind of functional size. It's not too big, it's not too small. I initially designed it just with a shoulder strap, like a shoulder bag, but I've recently done a new sort of version of it, which has got a longer strap on it and a zipper inside pocket, so additional features to go on
Wow.
it. But I think for me, what I like about it mostly is the fact that it has an asymmetrical flap and pocket, which they're off center, and you know, it's very simple. It's a very simple design, but I think it's quite effective, and it's a really useful size.
Yes, and I think it's such a nice statement piece, but having the more simplistic design makes it very approachable for beginners. And you've got this really professional, standout looking bag, but then anybody can make it, which is just really exciting. So I think it's a great pattern.
Thank
So
you.
for anyone who is just getting started in bag making, what's something that a piece of advice that you might give someone who's a little bit overwhelmed to start their first bag project or not sure where to start?
I think I would advise anybody to give it a go. If anybody enjoys sewing, then bags are really good things to make. Having spent such a long time making and designing clothing, including overcoats, etc., unlike clothing, bags don't have to fit you. So I think it's pretty easy to turn out something that's usable. I also sew all of my designs on a domestic sewing machine. You don't need any fancy equipment really to make bags. Yes, you've got to get the kind of foundation materials right if you want to achieve a certain structure. But I think bags are something that anybody can have a go at and really achieve something, that looks pretty usable at the end of it. And you can make them out of really not very huge pieces of fabric either, which is a really good way of using up old scraps. And anything that you've got. A lot of my customers sometimes like to make something out of an old skirt or something, a piece of clothing that's been handed down to them and has meaning, or maybe they could make the pocket or the flap out of something that means something to them. And I think bags are a great way of doing that, really.
Oh, I love that too. It's just so much more personal and sentimental to carry that every day with you, and to, give it a new purpose as well, and a fresh look. And like you said, a lot of times they don't take a lot of fabric, so it's a nice way to upcycle and repurpose. And I think that's very inspirational too. An easy way to get started. Let's talk about when you aren't sewing or designing. Are there any things that you like to do in your free time besides sewing?
I still write a column which goes into local newspapers. Well, it goes into several newspapers across the UK, which is a nostalgia column. I'm very interested in all things. I always laugh and say I've still got one foot in the past, really. I think I was born in the wrong decade, probably. But I like looking at old historical photographs, and I also quite like taking photographs of the countryside around here. It's my partner who takes the photographs for Charlie's aunt. I'm not of his standard when it comes to doing the technical side of things, but I do enjoy a bit of photography. And I also like to make a bit of jewellery as well for myself and for friends. And I've got quite a sizable collection of vintage beads and charms and findings and things that I've amassed over the years. So I do like to play around with that, really, when I've got time.
Do you typically create accessories to coordinate with the bags and the hats, so you have like a whole matching ensemble?
Oh yeah, I do like matchy things.
Yes. Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I'm one of these people who changes my bag over to go with the outfit. I must say, my mum makes me laugh because she always says, "No, I'm just use the same bag. I can't be bothered."
Oh. When you're sewing, what is your go-to notion or gadget that you just can't live without?
I think a really good pair of scissors is a must, especially with the kind of fabric that I use. I've got several pairs of scissors, including a little pair of applique scissors, which are really quite handy for kind of snipping into the seam allowances if you want to make neat corners or curves. And I've got a really nice pair of scissors for cutting through tweeds and things like that, because it's quite difficult if you've got checked fabrics to use a rotary cutter. It's there. Some of them are really, really thick, and some of them are quite expensive. So I do like to have a nice pair of scissors.
Nice.
And also tape measure. I know that sounds really, really silly, but because I've got customers all over the world, I have a good tape measure with inches on one side, centimeters the other side, and I've usually got a tape measure around my neck.
Yes, never know when you're going to need to double check a measurement.
So, what is it that they say? Measure twice, cut once, isn't it? Or cut once, measure twice. I don't know, something like that. But anyway, yeah, it's really important to make sure you have the measurements right.
Exactly. For everybody to find you online, where are you most active on social media or on your website? Do you want to share where everybody can follow you and get in touch with you?
Well, my website, which is charliesaunt.com, is from there. It's really a signposting site which you can then find my Etsy shop from there. Plus, there is a link to the Charlie's Aunt Facebook page And there's also a Charlie, Friends Who Like Charlie's Aunt, which is a page that was set up by people, customers, lovely customers who post pictures of their bags on there. So that's what I do most. You can also find Charlie's Aunt on Pinterest, but mainly the Facebook group is the biggest. So.
Oh, perfect. Well, that's great. Well, everybody go and check out Emma's pages and follow along. Her website is so lovely, and she has such a beautiful collection of patterns and books for inspiration. So thank you so much, Emma, for taking the time to chat with me today. And I really enjoyed hearing your story and about your business. So thank you for being part of the club as well.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for showcasing one of my patterns. I named the business Charlie's Aunt in honour of my wonderful sister Sarah, who sadly passed away in her 30s from breast cancer. Her son is Charlie, and so hence I am Charlie's Aunt. It just seemed like a really nice name for the business, but also it's in memory of Sarah, who was one of my biggest fans in terms of the designs that I came out with. She owned several of the handbags that I designed and made, and was always a great model for the things that I made. People often comment on the photographs that I use on the Charlie's Aunt pattern covers and on our website. These are a very important, integral part of what I do, because I think that they tell the story of Charlie's Aunt. They're taken in the local countryside, which is a huge influence, and they have a real vintage vibe that goes with the patterns. I was the first British bag pattern designer to use models in the pictures, mainly to accurately show the scale of the bags. They're taken by my partner Jim Keenan and also another photographer who's wonderful called Phil Morley. Charlie's Aunt is based in a rural part of the east of England in a county called Suffolk. I've named the patterns after the towns and villages in Suffolk and in the neighbouring county of Norfolk. A lot of these places are really historic, and they also have great significance to me, and they seem to tie in really nicely with the vintage vibe of the patterns.
Thank you so much to Emma for sharing her story, tips, and creative journey with us. It was such a pleasure to chat with her and learn more about her journey and her featured pattern. We hope you feel inspired to make Emma's Gunton messenger bag and share your version with us. Don't forget to tag your photos with #BagMakersClub and #SallieTomato. We absolutely love to see what you make. And if you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up so you don't miss out on the next featured designer. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.